Border agents arresting an MS-13 gang member that's been traveling along with the migrant caravan.
This as Fox News exclusively learns of serious health risks being carried by some of those migrants.
The president will head to Buenos Aires, Argentina today for the annual G20 summit. He's expected to meet with several world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin.
The president should issue a public rebuke of Putin, and no better place to do it than the G20 summit.
House Democrats have formally nominated Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker. Pelosi needs to whittle down those 35 dissenters in order to hit the magic number of 218 in January.
Are there dissenters? Yes, but I expect to have a powerful vote as we go forward.
So it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas. The President and the First Lady taking part in the 96th annual National Christmas Tree Lighting.
May this Christmas season bring peace to your hearts, cheer to your spirit, and joy to the world.
Chop it down soon, and then we hope to ring it inside.
Where's your tree farm?
My tree, it's expensive. It's in the back. But we used to, when I was younger, we used to buy trees with the roots, and we used to plant them in the backyard.
What do you mean younger? I remember you doing that like 5 years ago.
Well, no,
He was younger then.
Yes, I was younger. But what they did is we had like 7 years of trees in the backyard.
Yeah.
And then we had an above-ground pool, and it collapsed one year, wiped out all the trees, kind of broke our spirit.
Holy cow.
Then we got back on the horse, and then they started dying on a regular basis. And we said, we're spending all this money for a tree. Why don't we just get one chopped down the way Jesus really had wanted it?
And then you built the below-ground swimming pool.
Then we did. No, then there's no more swimming pool.
I thought you had a swimming pool. You don't.
In my new life. I'm talking about my child.
Now that you're older.
I need to diagram all of that to figure it out. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us today. Last night they did light the Christmas tree. You saw it down in Washington, here at Rockefeller Center as well. So we're kind of in the spirit, but we've also got a whole bunch of news to talk about.
We absolutely do. We have a Fox News alert. There was an MS-13 gang member that was caught traveling with the migrant caravan. Border Patrol agents assigned to the El Centro sector say that they arrested him on Saturday night around 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
6 p.m.
The fellow's name, 29-year-old Jose Villalobos Jobel. He's from Honduras. He's been arrested, and he confirmed to the Border Patrol, yep, not only did I travel here to the area around Calexico, where he was apprehended, but I traveled with the caravan. I was in a gang, MS-13, and I'm entering the United States illegally. And so now they're going to hold him until he's repatriated and processed and send him back to Honduras.
We did hear there are about 600 lawbreakers or criminals within this caravan. We do know the numbers are pretty high now. There's about over 6,000 there. There's 3,877 are men, and now we know at least one is MS-13. That usually means Ecuador. And we also know the President of the United States has called this. I was watching last night. One of the reporters was sitting in the middle of the caravan, and they're saying a lot of them, some of them have decided to go home, some of them are frustrated, and others decide just to walk down until the wall runs out, and then there's a place where the wall is ended, and they just decide to go in illegally. Wow, doesn't that back up somebody's theory?
Well, we do know that he's from Honduras. We do know that he traveled with a caravan. We don't know exactly which of the caravans that pertains to. But to your point a moment ago, Brian, we've heard from the Department of Homeland Security. There are a bunch of people who are traveling in the caravan toward the United States who probably shouldn't come in.
Well, they arrested him close to the port of entry in Calexico, and they took him to the El Centro station. For further investigation, they ran something called a biometric background check, and records revealed in 2006 he had been deported, taken from Las Vegas and sent back to Honduras via what they call an escort flight that takes them home.
Right.
My sense is it isn't just one MS-13 individual. Logic would tell you that gangs usually travel with gangs.
Well,
so far
we don't.
They've only found one.
Right, and there have been stories that apparently there have been paid informants traveling with the caravan who are giving the United States and Mexico both information. So we'll keep you posted on that. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit about this, and it's also a Fox News alert. The health situation is dire as the migrants continue to overwhelm our southern border, particularly at that encampment in Tijuana.
And now we got some numbers. Officials warning of serious health risks migrants from are actually carrying through the caravan, and they're going to be bringing it to the U.S. should they get in.
Griff Jenkins is live in Tijuana, Mexico with the latest. Griff, some of that video that one of your photographers shot, it said there was a sign on the tent and it looked like it said prohibited spitting. You can't spit. Are you seeing a lot of that and coughing and things like that?
Yeah, good morning. There's signs all over the place, Ainsley, that say prohibido escupir. It means no spitting because it is rampant coughing and spitting everywhere in this overcrowded situation. The space here in Tijuana is for 1,000 people. They've got more than 6,000 crammed in there, coughing and spitting everywhere. Health officials very concerned. They tell me that more than 60% of the people here are suffering from respiratory infections, and we know of known cases of tuberculosis as well as HIV, AIDS, and chickenpox. Lice is widespread. But that's not the only thing going on. You know, they've been here for a while, and when we talked to one of the migrants here, Marco Munoz, he's from Honduras. He's seeking asylum. He believes he has a credible threat from gangs threatening his daughter. But he says, look, when you look at all this, first of all, in the first place, in the beginning, we were lied to by the organizers, but now we're reaching a dangerous breaking point. Listen.
They lied to us from the beginning. So most of these people are disappointed, you know, and getting frustrated at the time. So as you can see, every day that passes, it's more and more people that are coming. So there's gonna be a point break where they're just gonna say, let's just rush in there, you know.
And it's that sort of sentiment, perhaps, that has President Trump. There are reports President Trump is thinking about extending into January. His troop deployment is currently 5,900 active duty troops supporting CBP along the border, as well as 2,100 National Guardsmen. Guys?
All right. Hey, Griff, I got a question for you. I know it is dry there right now, but they've been talking all week about the migrants have been asking for tarps from the government, either the federal government or the city of Tijuana, and they said, we don't have any money for that. Today it's supposed to really start to rain, isn't it?
It has already, Steve, been pouring overnight. There's a break in the rain now, but it is soaked here. If you can kind of look behind me and see the tents, they've already got water all over them. These are tents that were handed out by Tijuana's municipal government. And that's been the mayor's complaint all along, that they gave them everything they could, but this operation's cost them $30,000 a day. They've given out all the tents they've got to give, and this rain is making it wet and cold with an already very sick population. It's definitely compounding the problem.
All right, Griff Jenkins live in Tijuana. Thank you very much.
Well, now that ends. Meanwhile, 7 minutes after the top of the hour, in case you have not noticed, there's some trouble in the House as they try to find a new leader when they actually get control of the House of Representatives. Now, it looks as though Nancy Pelosi by far is the front runner, but there are 32 Democrats voting against Nancy Pelosi. She can only afford to lose 17. She has made some progress when it comes to talking to some of the people and some of the opposition that is against her, but not enough yet.
So what happened is she was nominated by the Democratic caucus. You can see the numbers there. But the final vote by the full House is going to be in January. Right. There were 32 caucus members that opposed her, and 3 turned in blank ballots. So that means she has to get 15 of those 32 who are opposed to her to come on board with her, because she can only afford to lose 17.
So she is officially the leader of the Democratic caucus, but then the Speaker of the House, that election is going to be the first week in January. But keep in mind, even though we just saw she lost 32 Democrats, that's better than last time. 2 years ago when she was running against Tim Ryan, 63 people on the Democratic caucus voted for Tim Ryan. Big question is, can she get over the line without Republican help? She was asked about the dissenters in her own caucus yesterday, and this is what she had to say.
Let me tell you something. I'm talking about scores of members of Congress who just gave me a vote, are giving me a vote of confidence. That is where our focus is. Are there dissenters? Yes, but I expect to have a powerful vote as we go forward.
Steve, you brought up a good point. She was running against somebody, Tim Ryan.
A person.
Yeah, so she's not running against anyone. She went to the Problem Solvers, which is a bipartisan committee. They tend to be moderate, centrists. 8 she convinced to vote with her, one of which is not Kathleen Rice of New York. She called the talks with Nancy Pelosi not terribly productive and said the 203 to 32 vote plus 3 blank ballots, 1 absentee demonstrated that Pelosi does not have the absolute majority necessary. The question is, what will it take to put her over the finish line?
And there's no one else that's that's put their hat in the ring that said,
Right.
I want, and there was one person that was kind of considering it, and then Nancy Pelosi gave her a powerful job, and she said, okay, never mind, I'm pulling out.
Funny how that works. But keep in mind, there were a lot of Democrats who ran this past cycle.
Yeah.
And they all, every member of Congress, the Republican and Democrats in the House of Representatives were up for re-election first week in November. There were a lot who said, if elected, I will not vote for her. So they're in a pickle.
Do
What are
you
they gonna
think that some of those that didn't vote for her for the caucus, do you think that, or in the caucus, do you think that they are doing that because they want a powerful position? And and Nancy might say, if you vote for me, all she has to do is say that to 15 of those people who didn't vote for her.
Well, you know, a lot of people will return to Congress by saying, I'm not going to vote for her. And then if they vote for her, what are people going to do in 2 years when those people are for re-election again?
Well, the American Barometer poll found that 73% of voters wanted Democrats to pick somebody else to lead the House. So that's not nice.
Well, we'll see. All right. In the meantime, 6:11 here in New York City, and there's Jillian.
Good morning. Yes, following a number of stories starting with this, we now know the names of the 3 U.S. Special Ops troops killed on the deadliest day in Afghanistan this year. Army Captain Andrew Ross, Army Sergeant First Class Eric Amond, and Air Force Staff Sergeant Dylan Elchin died after their vehicle hit a roadside bomb. 3 other American soldiers and a contractor were also hurt in the explosion in Ghazni, a city south of Kabul. 12 American heroes have died in Afghanistan this year. Stormy Daniels is calling out her attorney, Michael Avenatti. She claims he filed a defamation lawsuit against President Trump without her permission. Daniels also telling the Daily Beast he started a second crowdfunding site for her legal expenses without telling her. Avenatti says he started the new campaign to cover legal fees because most of the money so far has gone to her security. Daniels has not decided if Avenatti will continue to represent her. In just hours, President Trump will head to Argentina for the annual G20 summit. He's expected to meet with several world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to the Kremlin, they'll discuss anti-terrorism efforts, Syria, and North Korean denuclearization. President Trump will also hold talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping over the trade war. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, yes. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree in New York City lit up and topped with a 900-pound crystal star. In Washington, the president and first lady taking part in the 96th annual National Christmas Tree Lighting. The 28-foot blue spruce is decorated with ornaments from every U.S. state and territory. Never gets old seeing those trees light up every year.
'Tis the season.
Yep.
Not even December yet.
I know, but it's okay. It's Christmas time.
It is indeed.
It's after Thanksgiving.
All right. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Jillian.
Meanwhile, the media have been making a lot of claims about the caravan. Have you seen?
He knows that migrant caravan isn't showing up here any day.
No one is paying for the caravan.
Many of these individuals are women and children.
How much of what is being said is true? We're going to try to separate fact from fiction coming up next.
And I can't read this. You go ahead, Angie.
Is it the final round for Rocky? Makes Brian sad. What Sylvester Stallone just revealed about his iconic character. Kleenexes, please.
If it's what I think it is, I'm not finishing the show.
Well, the migrant caravan we've been talking about dominating headlines in the mainstream media, but just how accurate are some of the claims? Here to break down from the fact from the fiction, we've got Republican strategist and executive director of Accuracy in Media, Gus Portela. Gus, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to play a couple of sound bites, and then we're going to have you separate fact from fiction. Here's the first one. Listen.
All of this for a group of people, a lot of whom are mothers and children, who pose no imminent threat to the United States.
Many of these individuals are women and children.
Okay, so the big question is how much of the caravan, women and children? Gus?
It's a very small amount, actually. It's really funny that MSNBC is showing that the majority of the caravan are, or saying that the majority of the caravan are women and children, when in fact the caravan is overwhelmingly male, seeking jobs. And according to DHS, that is exactly what they're trying to do here. They're trying to cross the border to obtain new jobs here in America and make MSNBC is showing that the majority of the caravan or saying that the majority of the caravan are women and children, when in fact the caravan is overwhelmingly male, seeking jobs. And according to DHS, that is exactly what they're trying to do here. They're trying to cross the border to obtain new jobs here in America and make
Secretary of State John Kerry hinting that he could make a 2020 run for president.
I said I'm not going to eliminate, I'm not taking anything off the table. I'm going to think about it. I've said that point blank.
Nothing's off the table. He made that comment during an event at Harvard yesterday. Kerry last ran in 2004. He lost to President George W. Bush. And Jesse Ventura, also considering a 2020 White House run, the 67-year-old pro wrestler and former Minnesota governor, telling TMZ, quote, "If I do it, Trump will not have a chance. He knows he can never out-talk a wrestler, and he knows I'm the greatest talker wrestling's ever had." What do you think?
There you go.
Could he win?
Yeah, that's a good slogan. I'm the best talker that wrestling ever had. Why wouldn't you vote for him?
Well, is that
and
why
he did so well in Minnesota, hanging out in the basement the whole time.
That's what you're looking for. Meanwhile, whatever happened to American patriotism?
An alarming new online survey shows that national pride is falling among our nation's next generation, the so-called millennials, with 46% of them disagreeing that America is the greatest country in the world.
So what are millennials missing when it comes to American pride? Here to weigh in on this is editor-in-chief of Campus Reform, Lawrence Jones. Good morning to you, Lawrence.
Good morning, guys.
All right, so millennials were asked these questions, and millennials are aged 22 to 37. Let's show you some of the questions.
My age group.
Your age group.
Yeah.
All right, 37% think Barack Obama had a bigger impact than George Washington. What's your response?
I think it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I know Obama wanted to be a king, but George Washington was the only person that was offered to be a king and turned it down. I mean, this is an age group that's more focused on identity.
Millennials believe America's future should be driven by socialism over capitalism. That just goes to show you how successful Bernie Sanders and company have been over the last couple of years.
Yeah, you know, and that's why I don't agree with people laughing at it. I mean, we've been reporting on this for a while at the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform of the rise of socialism on the college campuses, where a lot of these professors, like California State, have bashed capitalism, saying that it's racist. And so this rise of socialism can fundamentally change of America. That's why you have Beto, Ocasio-Cortez, and Bernie. There is a rise of it, and I think everybody should be concerned about it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's all over. You just say the way to counter that is just show video of Venezuela eating their pets. That's what happens with socialism. They run out of money. And lastly, 63% see America as a racist country.
I think it's kind of insulting to first say that we just elected a president and you have so much support. He was elected despite a terrible economy for 8 years. And then that same poll follows up and says that 46 of the country, 40% of those millennials believe that the country is also sexist. Hillary Clinton just won a popular vote. She just did not a campaign in states to win the Electoral College. And so, again, these are young people that are being taught this from an early age, that America is racist, America is sexist, but these people really don't like America. I mean, if you even go deeper in the poll, 41% only read the Bill of Rights. They don't even understand the foundation of this country. So I think all parents should be concerned, grandparents should be concerned, because their kids aren't getting the proper education, which is why you see this in the poll.
What else is very concerning is what we talked about at the top of this segment. 46% of them disagree. Almost 50% of millennials disagree that America is the greatest country in the world.
Yeah, and again, there is this anti-American rhetoric. Do we have problems in America? Yes. But most of us decide to roll up our sleeves and make this country a better place. I mean, if you go deeper in these polls, they don't believe in the Constitution. They believe that it's a living, breathing document. If you have issues in the country, your Constitution is the biggest defense system to fight injustices in this country. That's why we have people trying to come across the border illegally to get here. You don't see that for other countries.
Right. Lawrence Jones, thanks so much.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Welcome back. You're watching Fox and Friends First. Investigators searching for answers after finding the body of a missing North Carolina teenager.
This is the outcome that we all feared that was going to happen. We will not stop until we find the person or persons responsible and we bring them to justice.
Well, the FBI says they found the body of Hania Aguilar in a pond 10 miles from her home where she was abducted earlier this month. Witnesses say a man forced her into a car and then drove off. There's a $30,000 reward for any information that leads to an arrest. Well, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey back on the hot seat after concerns that he may have lied under oath. At the Federalist, reporting House lawmakers are reviewing his September testimony after Twitter banned a conservative commentator this week. Meanwhile, the CEO of Google is expected to testify next week over concerns that his company could be biased against conservative users. Let us know what you think about that. Well, President Trump's long-awaited peace deal in the Middle East may soon be unveiled. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations saying that the White House intends to roll out its proposal early next year before Israeli elections could happen early summer. President Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner has played a major role in drafting the plan for peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Well, how about this story? A man is thanking God after a split-second decision saves his life. Bill Castleman has been waiting for a kidney transplant for 4 years. He and his wife left their Thanksgiving getaway early to get back to their Kansas City home before a blizzard hit. Well, when they arrived, doctors called and told him they found a match.
You're on the list finally, and then about 2 years into that, it's like, I'm never going to get a call. All of this was God. 100%.
And here's the thing, if he had not returned that day, the kidney could have gone to another patient. He's expected to leave the hospital soon, and we wish him well. Well, a touching tribute for a police officer and a Marine veteran hit and killed in the line of duty. A stranger decorating and donating Christmas trees to honor his memory. Well, John Franke from our Fox affiliate in Salt Lake City shows us the powerful holiday display.
As the holidays approach, so many stories will be shared around Christmas trees.
This is in honor of Officer David Romrell.
These trees, decorated in honor of fallen South Salt Lake police officer David Romrell, are inspiring people to tell theirs.
You guys do too much, so thank you.
Thank you.
The display was donated by a woman with no connection to Romrell or South Salt Lake Police.
Last few days have been rough. They've been a roller coaster of emotion.
The gesture helping relieve some of that tremendous grief.
That outpouring has been heartfelt and it's been incredible.
He hugged scores of people who shared how they're personally affected by this tragedy.
I just lost a nephew in Afghanistan. So.
One of those, a man who knows all too well what Romrell's friends and family are going through.
What was his name?
This is Brent Taylor, my nephew.
There's no cure for the pain this tragedy has caused.
Just reminds you of what's important in life.
Absolutely.
But in this dark time, these trees offering a glimmer of light and hope.
We definitely had, unique bonds that I served in the Marine Corps before I got into law enforcement.
Helping strangers heal together.
It's my privilege.
Well, the Kremlin now confirming that Vladimir Putin will meet with President Trump on Saturday after the president hinted that he may cancel over Russia's clash with Ukraine near the Black Sea. Should he confront Putin over Russia's brazen attack on one of our allies? Here to weigh in, former CIA station chief who has served in Moscow, Iraq, and Pakistan, for our Fox News contributor, Daniel Hoffman. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Morning.
So we mentioned that President Trump hinted that he may not have this meeting. Here's what he said. Maybe I won't even have that meeting. I don't want that aggression at all. So should he have the meeting or not?
Well, I think he should have the meeting. Let's remember that Russia fired upon and seized 3 Ukrainian vessels in violation of international law and a bilateral treaty between Russia and Ukraine. And then at the height of hypocrisy, even by Russian standards, they blamed the government of Poroshenko for causing a provocation. I think there's no question that the United States needs to take the lead in responding with concrete countermeasures. But before we do so, I think the president should issue a public rebuke of Putin, and no better place to do it than the G20 summit.
And so what should the U.S. do in response?
Well, I think there's a variety of options open to us. Certainly we can sanction Russia some more. We can consider deploying NATO contingents to the Black and Azov Seas to enforce free transit in those very strategic waters. We can consider the provision of lethal maritime assistance and material and equipment to Ukraine.
What does that mean, lethal maritime assistance? What is that?
We could shore up their naval defenses. The Trump administration, in contrast to the Obama administration, took a concrete measure by providing Javelin anti-tank weapons to Ukraine, and we might be able to augment their naval capability so that they can enhance their deterrence against the Russians. And the last thing I would say is we need to argue our points in the public sphere as well, and highlight to Putin's own people that Vladimir Putin is causing great problems for his own economy by mounting this sort of aggression on his neighbor.
What about U.S. troops?
I think in this case, certainly it's worthy of a discussion about whether we want to put any boots on the ground in Ukraine. We have trainers there assisting the Ukrainians with those Javelin anti-tank systems, but I would think that maybe a NATO contingent might be the right way to go. Certainly some discussion is worthy in this case.
Yeah, and in terms of other countries at the summit, how should they get involved, or how will they get involved in these discussions?
Well, I'd like to see the United States take the lead. I think Ukrainian sovereignty is worth defending. It's something for which we should draw a red line, and we should enforce it. The United States has traditionally taken the lead against Soviet and Russian aggression, and I think we should be able to bring some of our key allies along, particularly the UK, Germany, France. Not to mention those countries in the region, some of our NATO allies like the Baltic states, Poland, for example, who are very, very concerned about Russian aggression.
Yeah. Daniel Hoffman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your insight, as always.
Thank you.
Well, the time now is about 20 minutes until the top of the hour. And he helped broker a shady deal with Iran, but apparently thinks that he could be the best to take down President Trump in 2020. Carly Shimkus live up next with the big hint former Secretary of State John Kerry just dropped. He helped broker a shady deal with Iran, but apparently thinks that he could be the best candidate to take down President Trump in 2020.
I said I'm not going to eliminate, I'm not taking anything off the table. I haven't been running around to the most obvious states laying any groundwork or doing anything. Yeah, I'm going to think about it. I've said that point blank.
Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7 Sirius XM 115 here with reaction to the potential run from former Secretary of State John Kerry. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Heather. So the former presidential candidate may be interested in throwing his hat back in the ring, saying issues like climate change and foreign policy are too important for him not to consider it. Now, Kerry adding his name to an already large pool of people, including Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, and Beto O'Rourke, and this becoming a major talker on social media. One Twitter user wants him to take his name off the table. Another Twitter user, Ed, says, well, pretty much everyone is running for president in 2020. And Liz also chiming in saying, appreciate the help, but let's get someone new. President Trump actually encouraged Kerry to run in September, suggesting on Twitter that he would be easy to beat.
Yes, he has suggested several names for them. Right. Let's talk about the White House Christmas decorations, because I think they're beautiful.
Okay. Yes, I agree. I didn't think that they were anything to criticize, but did you see that row of bright red trees? That is the decoration in particular that people criticized, and the First Lady addressed that criticism recently. Take a listen.
We are in 21st century and everybody has a different taste. I think they look fantastic. I hope everybody will come over and visit it. In real life, they look even more beautiful, and you're all very welcome to visit the White House.
All right, so some people call that row of trees the hallway of Yuletide murders, I guess because they're red in color. But for the most part, people enjoy the decorations. Jeff saying they look absolutely perfect. And then another Twitter user chiming in saying, once again, our First Lady shows her elegance, poise, and character. So some high praise.
I don't know. A lot of people saying it's also just another example of no matter what happens, they'll have some sort of criticism.
Bingo.
Well, let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald honoring John McCain.
Yeah, that's right. So he has a special pair of cleats that he's going to wear this coming weekend, and they honor both John McCain and Pat Tillman. This is part of the My Cleats, My Cause initiative that the NFL runs every year. As you know, Larry Fitzgerald and the late John McCain were pretty close friends, with Fitzgerald even speaking at his memorial service. Meghan McCain thanking him for the honor, saying, "This is so special. Thank you, Larry Fitzgerald. My father would have loved this. Thank you for your continued love and friendship for my father and for the amazing hero, Pat Tillman." So Fitzgerald getting a lot of praise on social media. A lot of people calling him a class act. And so he's using these special pair of cleats to honor two very special people.
Yeah, good looking cleats, too, by the way.
Very much so.
All right, thank you so much, Carly.
Thanks a lot, Heather.
Well, coming up, sliding sales, how Dick's Sporting Goods gun ban just backfired big time. Plus, President Trump ready to reach across the aisle on some key issues.
Democrats will come to us with a plan for infrastructure, a plan for health care, and we'll negotiate.
But with Nancy Pelosi potentially back at the wheel, will anything really get done? Walkaway founder Brandon Straka says don't count on it. He's here up next. After the Dow spikes more than 600 points, Tracy Crosco from our sister network, Fox Business, joins us with what sparked the surge. Good morning.
Good morning, Heather. Yes, we saw stocks surging yesterday following Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's comments yesterday about the interest rates. He said that they are close to neutral. Now, a close to neutral interest rate means that inflation is stable, that the economy is on a sustainable path. And traders took this to mean that maybe we will not see as many interest rate hikes in 2019. Of course, this is kind of an about face from comments he made back in October when he said we are a long way from neutral. So you did see the numbers from yesterday. We saw gains on the Dow of 617 points. The S&P 500 jumped up by 61 points. The tech-heavy NASDAQ up by 208. Now, the only thing that might derail this rally that we're seeing, of course, the upcoming G20 summit in Argentina. President Trump set to meet with China's president to talk about trade.
Yeah, several big issues expected to come up there. Let's talk about Dick's Sporting Goods. Warning about a gun policy. There's a backlash big time for them, though.
Yes, sales at Dick's Sporting Goods have dropped in the last 3 months. This as the store faces some backlash following its tighter gun sale restrictions. You can see sales revenue down, 4.5% to $1.86 billion. Now, back in February, Dick's raised the age that you must be 21 to purchase a gun. They also said they'd stop selling assault rifles, this following the school shooting in Parkland, Florida. Dick's also saying that they would consider stop selling hunting equipment and supplies in order to switch that out with higher profit products.
All right. Tracy Crosco, thank you so much for joining us this morning,
Thanks.
as always. Well, let's talk about President Trump offering to work with Democrats as they prepare to take control of the House.
We have a much easier path because the Democrats will come to us with a plan for infrastructure, a plan for health care, a plan for whatever they are looking at, and we'll negotiate.
But are Democrats interested in anything but resistance? Brandon Straka is the founder of the #Walkaway campaign, and he joins us again. Nice to have you back with us.
Great to be back. Thank you.
So what about that? I mean, Donald Trump, the art of the deal, he's a deal maker at heart, but he has to have the other side of the aisle willing to negotiate. Do you think Democrats are willing to do that?
Sadly, no. I don't think that they're willing to do that. Again, it's like a broken record. Resist, resist, resist. And it doesn't matter what the man puts forward. Here he is offering, let's have bipartisan support on certain of these issues that are good for all Americans. I mean, many of them aren't even controversial. But Democrats want to resist because it's about demonizing this administration again and again.
Let's talk about some of those specifically. We can bring up immigration, ways that he's been willing to work across the aisle, some examples of backed compromise bill. He offered DACA path to citizenship. He offered, to negotiate on the border wall funding.
Right. Well, again, I mean, immigration is an issue where Democrats, I think, have gone completely off the rails and stayed completely off the rails. But
they weren't off the rails on it when President Obama was in office.
Right. Well, it's been politicized. It's been politicized. And unfortunately, I think a lot of this stems back to the media and the media narrative on the left that comes out about this, where race has really been weaponized in this country. And so it's not about safety and security, which is what conservatives have been pushing for a long time. That's all this president wants for us is safety and security. That's what conservatives want. Yeah. But liberals and Democrats have framed this issue as racist, as bigoted to have border security. But America, we have more immigrant population in this country than any other country. America is a notoriously generous country. But again, it all really comes down to demonizing the administration.
Yeah, and demonizing. Let's listen. I do want to pull this up. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, just a couple of things that they had to say. Some examples. Listen to this.
Let me tell you something. I don't usually find myself in agreement with this president.
It may be a compromise with the devil, but it's not a compromise with the Democrats.
Negotiating with this White House is like negotiating with Jell-O. It's next to impossible.
A compromise with the devil, negotiating with Jell-O.
Right. And these are wasted opportunities, I think, that where we are right now, because, again, we have a president who isn't even really a staunch conservative Republican. I mean, this is, for all intents and purposes, a pretty liberal Republican
And Republicans were worried about that before he took office, that he would work too closely with Democrats.
Right. I think it's a very sad, wasted time that we're in right now, this era, because this really is a time where I think Americans could be coming together. We have a president who I think really sort of represents both sides. If one side, that being the left, would acknowledge that there is a guy in office who wants what's best for everybody. I mean, this is a good time, I think, for all Americans. They're wasting the chance.
Yeah, that's why I also wish, like, a lot of the celebrities and a lot of the athletes who have been so outspoken about the president, I wish they would meet with him as well, because they could lead and we could bring this country together.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I think they care more about their public image than they care about doing what's best for America.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Great stuff. Well, the time now is about 8 minutes until the top of the hour, and a town waging a war on Christmas over one man's incredible display.
A bunch of Grinches, and they're always going to be a Grinch. You can never make them happy. It's my religious right. It's my First Amendment right.
Why this real-life Clark Griswold is being billed $2,000 per day just to keep the lights on. A Christmas controversy, a New Jersey town demanding that a couple pay $2,000 a day for this incredible light show that is at their home.
A bunch of Grinches, and they're always going to be a Grinch. You can never make them happy. It's my religious right. It's my First Amendment right.
It's a lot of lights, and Tom Abruzzi's neighbors say that his annual Christmas light display is drawing so many people that their neighborhood is becoming unsafe. The town now demanding that he pay for extra police security. Abruzzi started a fundraiser to cover the cost, but he refuses to turn off the lights. I think they look pretty cool. I don't live in the neighborhood, though. Well, in other news, completely switching gears, 16 U.S. postal workers are staring at some jail time for wanting to make some extra cash. They were sentenced for accepting bribes as low as $250 to deliver cocaine in Atlanta. Federal agents posed as drug dealers nabbed the mail workers after recording their deals. Each worker will serve between 3 and 9 years behind bars. Well, finally, enough time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Up first, the good. And we are proud to report that Fox News is the most watched network on cable for the 29th straight month. Nielsen Media Research says Fox averages 1.5 million viewers every day and nearly 2.5 million during prime time. And a big thank you to all of our viewers. Thanks. Now to that, a cyclist narrowly escaping this oncoming train. Some chilling video showing the moment the biker goes across a crossing in the Netherlands as the speeding train barely misses him. A rail safety agency posting the video to show the dangers of unguarded crossings. And finally, the ugly. Police are searching for an Amazon driver who hit a parked car and then just took off. The man making a delivery outside a home in Tampa, Florida, after smashing the parked car. He checked out the damage before scurrying back to his vehicle and then driving right off. Well, that wraps up this hour of Fox and Friends First today. Have a great day. Fox and Friends First continues right now. Bye-bye.